My film Rebirth of a Nation, amusingly enough, was a component in a show I had at Paula Cooper Gallery. And one of the things that really goes into my mind when I think about contemporary art and music is how weirdly divided they are. The art world likes music, sort of. But when they do, they usually go for sort of what I call white bread art rock. They don't get it. You'll never see hip hop in normal Whitney Biennial or whatever. I mean, they don't. The art world has problems with rhythm. Now, at the same time, you have really interesting electronic music and multicultural, specifically multicultural takes on contemporary art. My film Rebirth of a Nation was a critique of the way Bush had gotten into office, playing off of racial politics and the fears that whites have of becoming a minority. And I think the code words for the Bush administration, with people like Karl Rove, was that states' rights and devolution of federal powers would make these kind of white. Now all of a sudden you notice with the Obama administration they're having a rise of all these white militias and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, white Americans feel anxiety about some of the issues, and I think that that needs to be addressed. Birth of a Nation, the film by D.W. Griffith, is one of the most important films in American history. It set the tone for how America views racial politics in cinema. So I got the rights to the film. We remixed it. When I say we, I guess, well, me. And the whole idea was to apply DJ technique to film in a way that to kind of self-implode the film and get people to think about it as a, you know, maybe something that needs to be looked at a lot more closely. So with Bush, you have to remember, they played games with the black vote. They disenfranchised a large amount of people by playing those games. And again, a lot of it happened in the Old South, or places like Ohio. So Birth of a Nation was the first film to show a flawed election. And in 1915, I mean, you know, a lot of games were being played with the black vote. So disenfranchisement, blackface, you know, if you fast forward and update it, you could easily see the same resonance with Avatar, where most of the main characters were in blueface. Those were black actors, for example. Or Jar Jar Binks, this annoying creature that's like a minstrel on the Star Wars thing. The racial politics is still very much prevalent in American film. Terminator, or you know, what's the Transformers, where they have the kind of minstrel robots who had this annoying black, sort of almost gay voice or something. When I say gay, I'm not, no disrespect, I'm just saying it's a minstrel kind of demasculated male voice, where they're always make a black character like a Jar Jar Binks, an annoying, yeah, well, what's up, y'all? Yeah, you know, this kind of very annoying creature or something like that that has a high-pitched and like, yeah, really annoying, like, you know. So anyway, Birth of a Nation, what makes this Antarctic project different than that is they're both critiques of the nation-state's relationship to the individual. Antarctica is the only place on Earth with no government. It's the only place that really says you are you. The subjectivity that goes into that, once you step off a boat and you're on an ice field in the middle of nowhere, you are without the idea of the nation-state anymore. And I think Birth of a Nation, obviously nation, you know, nationalism, nation-state, the environmental politics that go into how nations play with carbon trading, how nations play with the idea of pollution and all these kinds of things. You could say that the divisions now are even more encoded because of the North-South divide, like the industrialized nations of the North versus the more multicultural countries of like China, India, Russia. Well, it's still considered European, but if you go slightly outside of, you know, there's plenty of Russians that look very Asian. So the racial politics that go into environmental issues is something that hangs like a specter over a lot of the process right now. So I had a big gallery show at Robert Miller Gallery called North-South. There was a pun about my Birth of a Nation versus Antarctica. Sense of humor in the title, but nonetheless, I'm very concerned about the way environmental politics shapes out with industrialized versus non-industrialized nations. Something that really we have to think about.